Welcome back to Supersedly Said, Advanced English Vocabulary and Phrases.
Today, we're sharpening our focus on enhancing advanced fluency. We're looking at some really nuanced phrases from a recent SpeakDuo lesson. That's lesson 1142.
And if you are looking for more chances to practice these kinds of concepts, you can go to SpeakDuo.com. You can meet people from all over the world, practicing English on video calls, and just getting more confident.
Right. And our goal today isn't just to understand these idioms. It's about mastering when to use them over simpler words. So let's just jump right in.
Okay, our first phrase is to get attached. So the basic meaning is to develop strong emotional feelings for someone.
Right. But the nuance of to get attached is it's often lost when people just replace it with something like to like or, to connect with.
It's so much more than that. To like just doesn't capture that deeper, almost involuntary emotional pull.
Exactly. Involuntary. It implies a kind of emotional dependence, especially with people or even things that might be temporary.
That's a great way to put it. The source material had a good, simple example for, say, an IELTS response. Is it hard for you to get attached to new colleagues? No, I find it easy to get attached to new colleagues if they are friendly.
It shows the ease of it, sure. But to make it really advanced, think about a high-stakes situation, like where being objective is critical.
Okay.
So a better application might be, the project manager realized she had gotten attached to the initial design idea and needed to step back to objectively evaluate the alternatives.
Ah, I see. So the attachment there is actually a problem, a liability.
Precisely. It shows the word's strategic depth.
All right, let's switch gears from emotional ties to frustration. Our second phrase, a whole thing.
A whole thing, yes. Defined as a complicated or overly dramatic situation.
And the big mistake here, I think, is using this phrase in a formal setting. It can really undermine your credibility.
It does. You can't treat it like it's the same as a major problem or a challenging task. It's highly informal. It's subjective.
So if I use it in a formal report, it just sounds like I'm complaining, not analyzing.
Exactly. The source example was great for a casual reply. Do you find learning new software a whole thing? Yes. I find the setup for new software a whole thing. It captures that personal annoyance.
Right. It's signaling that there's avoidable drama involved.
For sure. So in a work context, you might say, we just needed a simple signature. But getting approval from 3 separate departments became a whole thing that delayed the launch by a week.
A whole thing there just perfectly captures that bureaucratic frustration.
It does. Major problem just doesn't have that same flavor.
Okay, moving on to a phrase with some heavy implications. To be on to someone.
Right. This means you've discovered someone's secret, or more specifically, their dishonest plan.
And I think advanced learners sometimes water this down, using it as just another way to say, I suspect.
Yes, and that's the weakness. They forget that onto you carries this really powerful implication of wrongdoing.
It's not just a suspicion.
No, it suggests the discovery is pretty much complete, or at least actively happening. The other person knows they're being watched for something dishonest.
That makes it a much stronger accusation. The source material focused on that feeling of being scrutinized. What gives you the feeling that someone is on to you? When someone asks too many specific questions, I feel they are on to me.
And it's those specific, pointed questions that really sell the phrase. So in a corporate setting, it would be something like, the accounting department has been looking at the expense reports closely. I think they're finally on to the misuse of the company credit card.
Okay, so the investigation is moved beyond just suspicion.
Exactly. It's about evidence now.
Let's talk about our next one, which is one of the most hyperbolic. To cancel therapy.
Aha, yes. Meaning you feel like your emotional problems are just suddenly solved.
And the strategic pitfall here is obvious, right? You can't mistake this for actual emotional resolution.
Not at all. Using this in a serious conversation about well-being just makes you sound, flippant.
The key is that it's describing a momentary rush.
Just a temporary high, not a permanent fix.
Exactly.
It's a tool for exaggerated triumph. The personal example was perfect. Finishing a long-delayed task makes me feel like I can briefly cancel therapy.
The briefly is doing a lot of work there. The stress is coming back, but that little victory feels huge in the moment.
Precisely. And in a professional context, you'd use it to show the scale of relief. For instance, after securing that major contract, The team morale was so high, everyone felt like they could briefly cancel therapy.
It just communicates how overwhelming the success felt.
Okay, what about a more collaborative one? To check my math.
Right, meaning to confirm if a statement or calculation is correct. But it's about more than just numbers.
It is, and that's where its power is. If you just limit it to figures, you miss the point. Using something like review my figures is fine, but it lacks the humble, collaborative tone.
So check my math is almost like asking for validation on your logic or your strategy.
That's it, exactly. It adds this tone of seeking constructive input, not just a fact check.
That's a great distinction. It's about humility. The example was, before making a serious decision, do you ask a friend to check your math?
Yeah, and in that context, you're not asking them to do arithmetic. You're asking for a strategic review.
So in a work scenario,
You'd say, I think restructuring the department this way will save us 15%, but please check my math on the overall strategy before sending the plan to the VP.
you're asking them to verify the entire logic behind the decision. Very useful.
Okay, let's touch on a few others quickly, starting with close for business.
Meaning unavailable or refusing to participate.
Right, and just saying not available is so much weaker. It doesn't have that finality.
Finality is a good word for it. Close for business sounds definite. Abrupt even.
It does. It's often nonverbal. Like the example, when the conversation turned awkward, she signaled the night was close for business. It's just done. The interaction is over.
Okay, and what about social limits? The phrase to go too far.
Well, if we just say it means being rude, we're missing the key part, which is escalation.
Escalation. So the behavior started out okay, but then
But then it crossed a line, an unspoken social boundary. The original debate example was a perfect illustration of this. People usually go too far when they start making personal attacks instead of debating facts.
the personal attack is the point where it crosses that line.
It's the point of no return.
And finally, let's look at instability with on again, off again.
Right. Meaning something is happening intermittently, stopping and starting.
And if you just use a word like inconsistent, you really lose the feeling of the phrase.
You do. You lose the cyclical, frustrating pattern that's built into on again, off again.
So you should use it when you want to convey that frustration about a lack of stability.
Exactly. A lack of commitment or progress. In business, you might hear, the merger talks have been on again, off again for months. We need a final decision soon. The phrase just screams uncertainty.
It really does. That wraps up our critique. We've really hit on tone, implication, and audience alignment. Now, let's see how well you remember these with a quick quiz.
Okay, question 1. Is it hard for you to get attached to new colleagues?
So, thinking of to get attached. Option A, I find it difficult to delegate important tasks and share professional responsibilities with inexperienced peers.
Option B, it is challenging for me to develop strong emotional feelings or affection for new colleagues in the workplace.
And option C, I find it hard to physically meet up or spend long periods of time outside of the standard office environment.
All right, feel free to pause the critique here if you need to think about the answer.
Okay, the correct choice is option B.
Option B is right. It is challenging for me to develop strong emotional feelings or affection for new colleagues. Remember, to get attached is all about those deep, often involuntary feelings we talked about.
Question 2. Do you find learning new software a whole thing?
So a whole thing. Option A, yes, the process is a complicated or overly dramatic situation that typically takes many meetings to complete effectively.
Option B, no. The fundamental design of the system is often simple, ensuring ease of use and maximum adoption by users.
And option C, yes, the technical specifications require me to invest heavily in new equipment and hardware before installation.
Go ahead and pause here if you need a second.
The correct choice is option A.
Yes, option A. The process is a complicated or overly dramatic situation. Remember, a whole thing implies that annoying, bureaucratic complexity.
Okay, question 3. What gives you the feeling that someone is on to you?
Thinking about what it means to be on to you. Option A. When someone refuses to ask questions, showing they completely trust my honesty and integrity immediately.
Option B. When someone starts asking too many specific or pointed questions, signaling they have discovered my dishonest plan.
Or option C. When a person avoids eye contact and uses body language that clearly indicates they want to leave the conversation quickly.
Take a moment to pause if you need to.
The correct answer here is option B.
It is. When someone starts asking too many specific or pointed questions, remember, to be onto you implies they've discovered a dishonest plan. It's a strong accusation.
Question 4. What small win makes you feel like you can briefly cancel therapy?
That hyperbolic phrase, cancel therapy. Option A, finishing a long-delayed task makes me feel like my emotional problems are suddenly solved or temporarily managed.
Option B. Receiving a professional certification or qualification that formally recognizes my intellectual capacity and skills.
And option C, a complex emotional issue has reached a definitive conclusion, requiring no further professional psychological intervention.
Feel free to pause and think it over.
And the correct choice is option A.
Right. Finishing a long-delayed task makes me feel like my emotional problems are suddenly solved. To cancel therapy is about that brief, sudden rush of good feeling, not a real solution.
All right. Question 5. Before making a serious decision, do you ask a friend to check your math?
What are we really asking when we say to check your math? Option A. I ask them to perform the complex mathematical calculation themselves to ensure the numerical results is accurate.
Option B. I always ask them to confirm if my previous statement or overall strategic calculation is correct before proceeding.
And option C. I rarely ask anyone for verification because the decision is purely based on instinct and personal preference.
You can pause here if you'd like.
The answer is
Option B.
correct. I always ask them to confirm if my previous statement or overall strategic calculation is correct. To check my math is about confirming logic or strategy, not just numbers.
Question 6. What nonverbal sign shows you that someone is closed for business? Looking for that nonverbal cue for closed for business. Option A. They are fully prepared to participate and make direct eye contact, signaling their complete investment in the outcome.
Option B. They put on headphones, which is a clear sign they are unavailable or actively refusing to participate in the activity.
Or option C. They start asking many questions and engaging in active listening to ensure the next transaction is successful.
Go ahead and pause if you need to.
The correct answer is B.
It is. They put on headphones. That's a clear sign. To be closed for business means you are unavailable and shutting down the interaction.
Okay, number 7. In a debate, when do people usually go too far?
When do people go too far? Option A. When they exceed acceptable limits in behavior or expression by starting to make personal, highly offensive attacks.
Option B. When they refuse to deviate from the established rules, which makes the debate feel rigid and highly structured.
And option C. When they introduce too many facts and statistics, confusing the opposing team with an excess of verifiable data.
Take a moment to think.
The correct choice is option A.
Yes, it is. When they exceed acceptable limits by making personal attacks. To go too far is about that escalation, crossing a boundary from acceptable to offensive.
Last one, question 8. Have you ever had an on-again, off-again habit that you struggle to maintain?
We'll just read 2 options for this one. What's an on-again, off-again habit? Option A. A habit that is completed consistently every single day regardless of my personal work schedule or available free time.
Or option B. A habit that is completed intermittently or repeatedly stopping and starting over a period of time.
You can pause here if you need to.
Okay, so the definition of on-again, off-again is clearly option B.
It is. A habit that is completed intermittently or repeatedly stopping and starting. Remember, it refers to that frustrating cycle of instability.
So we spent today really digging into the strategic context for these idioms. I think the key takeaway is that balance between impact and professionalism.
It really is. You have to avoid using something like to cancel therapy in a serious context, and make sure a phrase like a whole thing doesn't weaken your analysis.
So the actionable steps are pretty clear. Practice using to check my math for strategy, not just numbers. And be careful with the strong implication of on to someone.
Exactly. The goal here is to move past just understanding the words to a really nuanced strategic fluency. Keep challenging yourself.
You can find the full context for all this in Lesson 1142, and you can always submit your own work for a future critique.
Keep practicing, and we'll talk soon.